Hello, friends. This is the Downshift podcast with Lupo, and today we'll dive into and explore the world of downshifting. Today, we'll talk about a relatively not-so-new trend of living simpler, calmer, and more meaningful lives. I'm Lupo, my friends call me Lupo, and I'm the host of this podcast. This podcast today is dedicated to all of you who are seeking an alternative to traditional notions of success and well-being. In today's episode, I will tell you more about downshifting from a first-person perspective. What is downshifting? Why do people do it? What are the advantages and disadvantages? What are the risks? I'll share some techniques for dealing with the challenges that inevitably arise on this challenging path. Downshifting is not just a change in lifestyle. It's a path to greater personal satisfaction in life and a lot of joy. This is a way of life that allows us to reconnect with our true passions and values, finding harmony and balance in a world that often seems too fast-paced and stressful. In today's episode, we will explore some of the most essential questions about downshifting. Why do some people choose this way of life? How can the transition to a simpler and more meaningful life change everything, from our daily routines to our deep internal beliefs? Who is downshifting really suitable for? This is the episode where we will seek answers to these questions. We will also provide you with some special recommendations and guidance for action if you're considering this transition. I will also share valuable first-person experience. My family and I have been downshifters with over 10 years of experience. In some of the upcoming episodes on this topic, I will detail who I actually am. How someone, at one point, shifts from running a leading IT company in the city to rethinking the meaning of everything and selling almost everything related to the big city, and moving to a small, unknown village near Lovitch. So, settle in comfortably, tune in, and let's together search for answer to the questions. Downshift. Why, how, and for whom? The journey begins now. Let's start with the basic definition of downshifting. It's a trend where people give up the pursuit of material success and career development to live more simply, calmly, and meaningfully. Downshifters are people who embrace this way of life by reducing their working hours, expenses, and ecological footprint. They focus on what truly matters to them, such as personal development, family, friends, and their hobbies. Oh yes, their hobbies, smiley face. Why do people make this choice? Why do some people become downshifters sooner or later? There's no one answer to this question because everyone has their own motives, values, and circumstances. But some of the most commonly encountered reasons motivating downshifters to undertake such a fundamental change are: reduced stress. Many of the city people feel overwhelmed, exhausted, and dissatisfied with the modern way of life. A life that demands daily completion of numerous tasks, meeting various deadlines, coping with competition, and achieving higher productivity. In response, downshifters want to break free from this tension and live more peacefully and contentedly. Health improvement. At some point, some people face physical and mental health issues related to the continuous stress in the big city. Issues that subtly turn into a dark daily routine. Issues such as headaches, back pain, insomnia, depression, and more. In response, downshifters want to take better care of their health and well-being, having more time for self-care, exercise, relaxation, quality sleep, and access to clean air and food. Financial freedom. Many of us feel painfully pressed by the burden of financial obligations, such as loans, mortgages, rent, bills, and daily expenses in the big city. Downshifters seek a way to break free or at least significantly reduce the pressure from this sometimes overwhelming financial burden by living more modestly and economically. Downshifters consciously decide to save more money and invest in things that truly make sense to them. Improved work-life balance. Many of us often feel torn or even more torn between work and personal life. We can't allocate enough time and attention to ourselves, neglect our closest people, and our once-saving hobby becomes a distant and unattainable dream. In response, downshifters want to achieve a healthier balance between work and personal life by reducing their commitments and prioritizing what's important to them. Environmental sustainability. Today, more and more people are genuinely concerned about the environment and the future of the planet we all inhabit. Downshifters significantly reduce their ecological footprint and live closer to nature. They use less energy, recycle everything possible, and maximize efficiency. Downshifters most often wholeheartedly support and practice ecological agriculture. Increased concentration. Last but not least, keep in mind that many people feel distracted, slowed down, and ineffective due to the multitude of distracting factors that surround them in the hectic daily life of the big city. Factors like the phone, television, computers, social media, and more. Downshifters seek an alternative and strive to live more mindfully, fully focusing on one task at a time. This way, they cultivate greater focus, creativity, and as a result, achieve significantly higher productivity. So, in your opinion, are there any other motivating reasons that can actually inspire us and transform us to embark on this challenging path? A path that can turn us from office plankton into more conscious and firmly grounded people on Earth? I eagerly await your comments on the topic, both under the podcast on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcast, and under the post on Facebook or under the article on the Downshift blog. Challenges and difficulties on the downshifting path. Let's continue exploring the most commonly encountered challenges and difficulties associated with the transition from leaving the big city and embarking on the downshifting path. Everything listed above is just some of the reasons that can motivate people to downshift. But keep in mind that this choice is not without its challenges and difficulties. Downshifting has both its advantages and disadvantages, as well as risks. Here are some of them. Reduced income. Keep in mind that especially at the beginning, downshifting can lead to a decrease in your income. Consequently, this may make it difficult to cover some basic needs such as housing expenses, healthcare, and education costs. Downshifters may face financial difficulties, so I strongly recommend that before you embark on this path, you carefully consider everything and, most importantly, create an emergency fund for unforeseen situations. Below in this exploration, we will delve into details on this point and the many ways for downshifters today to earn quite a decent income. Isolation and misunderstanding can lead to isolation and misunderstanding by society, which still values material success and career development. Downshifters may feel alienated, unrecognized, and unsupported by their family, friends, and colleagues. In the new place where you are going to live, like us in a small village near Lovitch, you may encounter rigidity, narrow-mindedness, stigma, criticism, simplicity, and even discrimination. Fact, boredom and even depression. Downshifting can lead to boredom and depression if people don't find a new meaning and purpose in their lives. At times, it can feel quite unsatisfying and hopeless, especially if you don't actively develop new skills, interests, passions, and hobbies. Missed opportunities. Yes, certainly, as downshifters, you may miss out on opportunities for significant professional development, education, travel, cultural enrichment, and social integration. You may limit your potential and influence, at least in the eyes of those still trapped in the hustle and bustle of the big city. Social shock and unpleasant surprises. In the new place where you are going to live, you may encounter some quite unpleasant surprises and phenomena. You may have to interact and even become a part of the peculiarities of life of some specific ethnicities and groups of people. Be very careful, observe and research the people who live near the place where you plan to migrate, and choose wisely. Social tales and European values from the TV don't work as smoothly as they seem when viewed from the couch at home in the big city. Techniques for dealing with risks and problems associated with downshifting. Plan in advance. Before you downshift, conduct thorough research and analysis of your current state and desired future state. By no means rush into this tempting new opportunity, but stop, think, discuss everything with your closest ones. Realistically assess your values, goals, and personal preferences. Create a detailed list of needs, resources, and opportunities without which you cannot do. Determine the type and degree of downshifting you want to undertake. Consider starting with partial downshifting. For example, take a few months of unpaid leave and test everything without closing all doors behind you. Prepare a very precise budget, schedule, task list, and step-by-step action plan. Be ready for any changes, challenges, and risks you may encounter. Be prepared to adapt and adjust on the go. Communicate with your loved ones. Share your decision and motivation for downshifting with your family and friends. Explain to them what downshifting means and what all of this means for you and for them. Request their understanding, support, and assistance. Listen to their opinions, fears, and concerns. Respect their personal choice and do not force anyone in one way or another to follow you. Find a suitable new job. Find a job that provides you with enough income, flexibility, satisfaction, and meaning. Look for a job that matches your skills, interests, and goals. Explore different options, such as part-time work, freelancing, starting your own business, or entirely new work in a field that interests and inspires you. Live more modestly and economically. Optimize your expenses and live within your means. Avoid unnecessary purchases, luxury, and extravagance, which can be very tempting, especially in the big city. Optimize your budget and save more white money in your personal fund. Invest in things that have long-term value and benefit for you and those around you. Live closer to nature and use less energy, water, and other resources. Recycle, repair, and donate unnecessary items. Don't be slaves to things. It's a trap for people stuck in the city. Enjoy life. Remember that downshifting is not an end in itself but a means to achieve a better quality of life. Enjoy the time you have for yourself, your loved ones, and your hobbies. Travel, visit new places, meet new people, explore new cultures. Step out of your comfort zone and try something that scares you or is challenging. Be open to change and embrace the unknown. Enjoy the little things in the moment. Financial perspectives and opportunities. Myths about financial limitations. So, the next big topic we want to explore in today's episode is related to finances. Specifically, let's debunk some myths about the financial constraints that are often associated with downshifting. Many people hesitate to take the step towards a simpler life because they fear that it automatically means financial insecurity or poverty. But is that true? Let's first explore the idea of financial freedom. For many, downshifting doesn't mean giving up all financial ambitions but rather redefining what is enough. This involves evaluating what we truly need for a happy and fulfilling life compared to what society tells us we should have. For example, consider the example of Lupo, who left his high-paying IT business to start his entirely new and unfamiliar business in handmade chocolate with honey. Yes, initially, there was a decrease in income, but he also learned how to significantly optimize his expenses. He learned how to live more simply but also with much more satisfaction in life and much more time for himself and his family. Another aspect is sustainable economy. More and more downshifters are discovering that they can live a completely satisfying life while also optimizing their expenses. They reduce expenses for transportation, food, and clothing by choosing more environmentally friendly and economical options. So, the key question here is not how much money you earn but how you use it and what truly brings you satisfaction. Downshifting can be financially sustainable when approached with reason and planning. This is the path to financial freedom that is not dependent on a high income but on wise resource management. Psychological aspects and motivation. Let's continue our conversation about downshifting, focusing now on one of the most important elements of this way of life, the psychological aspect and motivation. One of the keys to successful downshifting is strong internal motivation. But what does this actually mean in practice, and how can we maintain our motivation despite social pressure and the challenges at every step? It's important to understand that downshifting is not just a change in the external world. It's also a profound change in the internal world. This means learning to listen to our own needs, values, and aspirations, rather than simply following society's imposed stereotypes and expectations. Tips and techniques for psychological resilience and motivation. Self-awareness. Start by reflecting on your personal values and what truly makes you happy. This can include journaling, meditation, or conversations with close and trusted individuals. Goal setting. Define specific, measurable, and realistic goals that align with your values. This helps you stay focused on what truly matters to you. Building community. Seeking support from like-minded individuals or joining groups with similar interests can be extremely beneficial. They can offer support, understanding, and inspiration. Conscious choice. Remind yourself why you chose this path. When faced with social pressure or doubts, return to your initial motivations and goals. Stress management. Develop stress management strategies, such as yoga, relaxation, or hobbies that bring you joy and satisfaction. Remember, internal motivation is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Downshifting is a journey that requires courage, self-awareness, and determination. Every step on this path can lead you to a richer and more meaningful life. Downshift, personal experience and advice. So it's time for shared personal experience and some practical advice for those who have been considering the idea of downshifting for some time. New place to live. Personally, we stumbled upon this small village near Lovech by complete chance. However, it turned out that the village is not small at all. Smiley face. We're talking about the end of 2023 and about a Bulgarian village located in northern Bulgaria with over 1 residents. 1 residents from all age groups and from all major ethnicities in the country. However, this fact and the reality of a large living village have both its advantages and many drawbacks. So when choosing the place, don't rush, but thoroughly inspect it and visit it multiple times if possible in different seasons. Now, onto a very important aspect, the house. Personally, we wanted an old Bulgarian house made of brick, wood, and stone. Back then, about 10 years ago, We wanted to live in a living, old, and traditional Bulgarian house built with entirely natural materials, without the steel concrete excesses of the 1960s. However, life in such an old brick, stone, and wood house comes with many challenges. It's not all flowers and roses. No, definitely not. So, 12 years ago, we bought the house that so warmly welcomed us under its roof. Over the next few years, we invested a lot of effort and resources into renovations and achieving a minimum level of amenities and comfort, to which we had become so accustomed throughout our entire lives in Sofia. I advise you to take a similar approach. Give yourself time to test and see if you like the new place. How will your house receive you? See how not only the house will receive you but also the spirit of the master of this house. Having enough time for all of this will make it much easier for you to handle the repairs and changes to the house, ensuring a minimum level of comfort for living in it 365 days a year. The neighbors? Another extremely important thing, the neighbors. Be very careful not to end up in a place where alcoholics and idlers from the village gather in the evenings. Otherwise, the noise and the dirt they leave behind can be a very unpleasant surprise for you. Internet. Another important thing that I remember as I write the script for this podcast on the Downshift blog is the internet. Today, good quality internet is vital. In many cases, it is of great importance whether you can practice your profession or hobby remotely. Do not rely on the mobile internet plans of mobile providers. In principle, in my opinion, you cannot rely on mobile providers here. If there is a quality internet provider in your area, that's the perfect solution, and mobile internet can be your backup option. For example, in the village where I live, I have optical internet with much better quality compared to the internet quality I had at my home when I lived in Sofia in the Mladost district. Hobbies. Your hobby and the pleasure, motivation, and energy it gives you are of great importance. Take a good look to see if in the place where you want to live as a downshifter, you actually have conditions for easy, quick, and daily practice of this hobby. For me, that hobby is cycling. For you, it might be running mountain ultra marathons or swimming. In that case, carefully consider where you plan to live and choose a place where you can practice what you love with minimum financial expenses and without losing extra time. Final thoughts. Friends, these are just a few of the recommendations and guidelines I can give you if you have decided to downshift or are seriously considering the possibility of doing so. I hope they will be helpful to you and assist you in making this transition smoother and more successful. If you have questions, comments, or recommendations, please write to me in the comments under this podcast on Spotify, Apple, or Amazon Podcast, on YouTube Podcast, or under the post on Facebook. You can also contact me through my contacts in the Downshifter blog. A series of shared experiences, stories, and interviews with many successful downshifters are yet to come in the Downshifter podcast. Thank you for the time you spent today listening to this podcast episode. I am Lupo, and I wish you luck. And let it be fun.